Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Nice to be with you today. I'm going to chant the mantra invocation to reciting the Vedas as shown to us by Srila Vyasadeva. We start by invoking the Transcendent Lord. And through the Transcendent Lord, we get guided in whatever we are speaking about. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narotamam devim sarasvatim vyasam tato jaya mudirayat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is a very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead Narayan, and to Narayan, which is the supremest human being, and to Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto the author Srila Vyasadeva. And today we are reading from the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, which is a very means of conquest, we just said. And we are reading from the third canto entitled The Status Quo, when nothing is moving. And we are in a third chapter entitled The Lord's Pastime Out of Vrindavan. And we are on text 25. So I'm going to say one Sanskrit word at a time. Tata Katipayai Masai Vishni Boja Andaka Adaya Yayu Babasam Samrista Atai Deva Himoita Tata Katipaya Masai Vishni Boja Nada Kadaya Yayu Babasam Samrista Atya Deva Vimoita Tata Katipaya Masai Vishni Bojanda Kadaya Yayu Babasam Samrista Atya Deva Vimoita Tata Katipaya Masai Vishni Bojanda Kadaya Yayu Babasam Samrista Atya Deva Vimoita
Katipaya Maser Vishni Bhojan Dakadaya Yayu Prabhasam Samvista Atya Deva Vimohita Tata Kati Paya Masai. Vishni Bojam Dakada Yaha. Yayupabasam Samrista. Anyone online would like to chant the verse? Again, it's Canto 3, Chapter 3, Text 25. Okay, so we'll do the translation, one word at a time. Tata.
Tata.
Thereafter. Tatipaye. A few. Masai. Months passing. Vrishni. The descendant of Vrishni. Boja. The descendant of Boja. Andaka Adaya. And others. That's the son of Andaka. You went. Pavasam. The place of pilgrimage, the place of pilgrimage named Prabhasa.
Place of pilgrimage named Prabhasa.
Some Svista. With great pleasure. Atai. On their chariots. Deva. By Krishna. Vimohita. Bewildered. Translation. A few months passed, and then, bewildered by Krishna, all the descendants of Vishnu, Boja, and Andaka, who were incarnation of demigods, went to Prabhasa, while those who were eternal devotees of the Lord did not leave but remained in Dwarka. There is no purport, so I'm going to go to text 26, reading the Sanskrit and then one forward. Tatva snatva pritrim devam rishim chaiva tat ambasa tarvayit vaha pata viprebhyo gavo bahu gunadahu. Tatra, there, snatva, by taking baths, pritrim forefathers, devan, demigods, rishim, great sages, cha also, eva certainly, tat of that, ambasa, by the water, tarpayitva, by pleasing, ata thereupon, viprebhya, unto the brahmanas, gava, cows, bahuguna, greatly useful, dadu, gave in charity. Translation. After arriving there, all of them took baths with the water of this place of pilgrimage. They offered their respect to the forefathers, demigods, great sages, and thus satisfied them. They gave cows to the Brahman in royal charity. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Amongst the devotees of the Lord, there are several divisions, mainly Nitya Siddha and Sadhana Siddhas. The Nitya Siddha devotees never fall down to the region of the material atmosphere, even though they sometimes come onto the material plane to execute the mission of the Lord. The Sadhana Siddha devotees are chosen from the conditioned soul. Out of the Sadhana devotees, there are mixed and pure devotees. The mixed devotees are sometimes enthusiastic about fruitive activities and are habituated to philosophical speculation. The pure devotees are free from all this mixture and are completely absorbed in the service of the Lord, regardless of how and where they are situated. Pure devotees of the Lord are not enthusiastic to put aside their service to the Lord in order to go visit holy places of pilgrimage. A great devotee of the Lord in modern times, Sri Narottam Das Thakur, has sung like this: to visit holy places of pilgrimage is another bewilderment of the mind, because devotional service to the Lord at any place is that last word in spiritual perfection. The pure devotees of the Lord who are completely satisfied with the transcendental loving service of the Lord for pure devotees. There is hardly any necessity to visit the various places of pilgrimage, but those who are not so advanced have the prescribed duties of visiting pilgrimage sites and regularly performing the rituals. The part of the princely order of the Yadu dynasty who went to Prabhasa performed all duties to be done in a place of pilgrimage and offers a pious action to their forefathers and others. As a rule, every human being is indebted to God, the demigods, great sages, other living entities, people in general, forefathers, etc., for various contributions received from them. Thus, everyone is obliged to repay the debt of gratitude. The Yadu who went to the Prabhasa pilgrimage site performed their duties by distributing land, gold, and well-nourished cows in royal charity, as described in the following verse. I'm going to continue to invoke auspiciousness by reciting a few verses, asking for the blessing of the devotees, of the spiritual master, of all the great teacher in our lineage, the Goswamis, and to the Lord in this different form is the Lord's associate, and all the devotees of the Lord, everyone here too. Om Gyanati Merandasya Gyanajala Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayamupakadamayam Dadati Swapadam Tikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapadakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavam Cha Shri Rupam Sagajatam Sahagana Ragunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saita Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitam Cha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kamta Radha Kamta Namosute Takta Kamshana Gorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishavanu Sute Devi Pranamami Yari Priye Vansha Kalpatarubhyacha Kripa Sindhu Vyaivacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale, Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine, Namaste Sarasvate Deve Gauravani Pacharine, Nirvisesha Shunya Vadi Paskacha Desatarine, Mukam Karoti Vachulam Pangum Langayate Girim, Vyakrita Tamaham Bande Shigu Desatarinam. Hare Krishna. So I'm going to read our verses for today. He said, a few months passed, and then, bewildered by Krishna, all the descendants of Vishnu, Bhoja, and Daka, who were incarnation of demigods, went to Prabhasa, while those who were eternal devotees of the Lord did not live but remain in Dwarka. After arriving there, all of them took baths, and with the water of this place of pilgrimage, they offer their respect to the forefather demigods and great sages, thus satisfied them. They gave cow to the Brahmanan in royal charity. Hare Krishna, I did take some notes on the thoughts. I'm going to open the notes. So we are continuing a conversation. We are in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So in the Srimad Bhagavatam describes the pastime of the Lord with his devotees. Like when we read Srimad Bhagavad Gita, it's the Lord directly speaking to us, the Lord giving us instructions, speaking to us. And then after the Bhagavad Gita, the next instruction and the next level of learning about Krishna is learning about Krishna with his devotees. So the Srimad Bhagavatam is a series of stories of Krishna and his devotees. So we do hear from Krishna, coming and speaking with his devotee, and mainly we hear about his devotees and their conversation between each other. So here we are in a place of pilgrimage with Uddhava speaking to Vidura. Somehow they were both going in different places, and they met in a place of pilgrimage, and as they met, when devotees meet, what do? They speak about Krishna. They speak about Krishna pastimes, they speak about Krishna's family, they want to hear about the philosophy. That's what devotees do when they encounter each other. So when Vidura and Uddhava got in contact with each other, that's we found the situation where Vidura was already out and about, away from Krishna, away from Krishna's family, away from his own family for 30 years. And then he met Uddhava, and Uddhava was just with Krishna and with his family and with everyone. So you want to inquire, like, what's happened? Tell me. And then Uddhava is sharing. He had a difficult time because for Uddhava, he was also bringing all his emotion of separation from the Lord, because the Lord had just departed. Like yesterday we were celebrating the departure of Srila Prabhupada. So we celebrating because Srila Prabhupada instructed us that there is no difference between the appearance and disappearance of the pure devotee. So we do celebrate the disappearance, and at the same time the emotion around the disappearance of the devotee or the disappearance of the Lord are not the same. So Uddhava is feeling a lot of separation. And then at the beginning, when Vidura asked him, he's like shaking, he has a hard time he choke and he has a hard time speaking. And then when he starts speaking, then he cannot stop. That's what the devotee does when he starts speaking about Krishna. They don't know where to stop or where to, how much to say or how much not to say, because there is so many stories and story inside stories. And story inside story inside story inside stories. So here we are coming closer to the closing of Krishna's pastime. And I want to read the previous verse. So the previous verse, Uddhava started telling a story of how the family of Krishna disappeared from this earth, like how Krishna concluded his pastime really by him leaving, but also taking everybody back to their destination at the end of his pastime. So verse 24 read, once upon a time, great sages were made angry by the sporting activities of the princely descendant of the Yadu and Bauja dynasties, and thus, as desired by the Lord, the sages cursed them. A few months passed. Then, bewildered by Krishna, all the descendants of Vishnu, Bauja and Daka, who were incarnation of demigod, went to Prabhasa, while those who were eternal devotees of the Lord did not leave, but remained in Dwarka. So some youths from the Yadu dynasty, they angered some sages, and we won't go in the detail of that story. They just play a prank. It was like a prank that the youth played on some sages, but it wasn't a good prank. So the sages became very angry and they cursed the Yadu. They really cursed those youths, but they cursed all Yadu dynasty because, of course it was just the youth, but the youths were raised by their parents and grandparents. And so everyone was responsible for the activities of the youth. And it's something that came to me when I read that, is that at one point in the seminar, Sadvasov seminar, we were doing a conflict resolution module. And in that conflict resolution module, we were looking at 4 different types of personalities. And that could be looked into as, Brahman, Kshatriya, and like that. and how they react when they are under attack. And it was said, like, you know, like someone in a mode of passion, they react right away. So just they react right away. And then someone in a mode of goodness, they turn to like vengeance cold. It's kind of come cold vengeance. That's it. They just like, they kill them. And then 3 months later or a few months later, that's when the punishment comes. That's when, you know, like, and so like, oh, I was to be remembered. But that's how, you know, like, how it's called? In French, there is an expression, vengeance is a meal that's for some that's eaten cold. That sounds very painful, but that's what's in the mode of goodness, or from the sages of the Munis, that's what they did. So, and so the verse today, the 2 verses today, also give us an entrance into the pastime of the Lord. And for those of you who know Krishna book, we have at the beginning of Krishna's pastime, Mother Earth. Mother Earth is very burdened. We can imagine how burdened she was. She was burdened by military strength. There was so much military strength on Earth that she became very burdened. And she went to Lord Brahma, the engineer of the universe, to ask Lord Brahma to do something. And then Lord Brahma went to Svetwadip and to the shore of the ocean of milk. And she prayed, Lord Brahma prayed to the Lord to like do something, because he couldn't really do anything because the demons were so strong that were damaging Earth. And we can see like the demons nowadays, they always are also damaging Earth so much. Mother Earth is usually the victims of what's happened with demons. She's a direct victim, and of course there are so many other victims. And the Lord responded by asking, oh, all of you demigods, you're going to take birth in those families that we are reading about, the Vrishni, the Bhoja, and Andaka. He said, please go and take birth in those families. You remember that in the beginning of Krishna book? So that's what we are speaking about here, that the demigods took birth in those, and the demigods were asked, and the demigods, they are devotees, but they are not necessarily pure devotees. They are devotees with some still material desire, but they're pious, they follow the rules, regulation, they don't disobey the Lord. When they want sense gratification, they do it under the rule and regulation, the principle of the Veda. Like that, that's what demigods are. It's not like there's no sense gratification, but it's regulated, it's under what's permissible, what's, you know, they don't go against the rule and the regulation of God. And that's, as long as we keep ourselves under the rule and regulation, the law of nature, we can enjoy life. Like the demigods enjoy life way more than we could enjoy even on this earthly platform. Anyhow, hello. Ryan, you're with a friend.
Someone's not on mute.
Hello, friend of Ryan. Welcome. Nice to meet you. I wasn't planning to speak with new people, so bear with me, and wherever wherever we are, you absorb transcendental vibration. So it's all purifying. So that's what's happening. So the demigods, there is 3 different planetary systems. And the demigods, they live in an upper planetary system. That's a destination for people who are very pious. And a lot of the Christian theology kind of aims there, like be good and go to heaven, like be a good person, don't go against the law of God, follow God, and then that's where you end up. And what's missing there is that even the heavenly planet, the heavenly region of the universe, where there is like easy life. Life is long. There is not much misery. Everything is on abundance. The food is abundant. The people are very beautiful. There is Gandharva and Apsaras. They are very artistic. So in heavenly planet, everything that we desire here on earth is given, multiplied by, thousands. It's so much better than even the best we could receive here. Even Elon Musk doesn't even touch the toe of a demigod, any demigod, when it comes to opulence and wealth. The same thing with intelligence, same thing with the intelligence of the people on any planet. They don't need to have books. They remember things. They have a sharp memory, sharp intelligence, long life. They don't quarrel like we do. We quarrel for anything here on this earth, in this age. People kind of get into a fight just because they look wrong at each other, or very, very petty little things. They get into fights and take things very personal, because we are in Kali Yoga, and it's an age of quarrel and hypocrisy. So there's so much hypocrisy in relationships, so much quarrel all the time. Even sometimes, like, people who don't know each other, just, we drive and someone gets angry with us because we didn't start fast enough. That will not exist in the other age, and definitely not on heavenly planet. So intelligence and wealth and beauty, everything is abundant. Food is abundant. The river are pure, clean, and the air. It's even hard for us to try to fathom what heavenly region of the universe look like. So those devotees, they are devotees of the Lord, and they are still some material desires. So in his purport, Srila Prabhupada speaks about different types of living entities. There is different division of devotees, and he speaks about Nitya Siddhas and Nitya Bada. And so at the core, we are all Nitya Siddha. Nitya Siddha, Krishna Prema, Sadhu Kavonai. Shravanadi Sudachite Korayo Udai. So Nitya Siddha, like we are all eternally in a relationship with Krishna, and we are all eternally liberated. However, some of us, we choose to be separated from the Lord and to forget about Krishna. Even so, we are part and parcel of Krishna. How can we forget about Krishna? Like, really thinking about it, we emanate from Krishna. We are emanation from Krishna, part and parcel of Krishna. And we emanate from Krishna out of this desire to enjoy. So we have that potency to give pleasure to the Lord. Like we all have potency to give pleasure to each other. And so we have that potency within ourselves to give pleasure to the Lord. But we decide, I'm not going to use that potency to give pleasure to the Lord. I'm going to give pleasure to myself. And of course, this becomes very, very limited. And that's the moment we forget about Krishna. And then by chance, I have a verse. By chance, when we wander around the universe, we get in contact with someone who starts to wake us up. So when we are all Nitya Siddha, but at one point we fall asleep. We fall asleep because all of a sudden we decide, I want to enjoy myself. I don't want to give enjoyment anymore to Krishna. And that's when we become separated from Krishna. And then from there, then there is a downward spiral of committing more and more activities that separate us from Krishna. And the more we commit activities that separate us from Krishna, the more the tendency of committing those activities are there. So the more, like let's say we may start with being good, but then at one point we steal something and we want to steal more and more. And really, as long as we don't acknowledge that nothing here belongs to me, it's just an illusion that anything here belongs to me. So we steal all the time, unless we recognize, yeah, this tree doesn't belong to me. The grass doesn't belong to me. This house doesn't belong to me. All the materials that made this house were there before I arrived, and they are going to be there after I leave. And all those scientists, they didn't create the atoms. They didn't create anything. They just took what was already there. So as long when we start taking things without recognizing where they belong to, then we separate ourselves. And separating ourselves from God, it's sin. It's hurt us. It hurts us. And then more and more we get in illusion, and then we get intoxicated by the illusion of enjoyment. And then when that intoxication of the illusion of enjoyment doesn't work, then we start to take intoxication, wine, cigarette, marijuana, you name it, you know. So it's like a downward spiral. More and more we get covered over, like completely covered over, until we meet someone, And that covering can go deep. We can find ourselves, even so we are Nitya Siddha, we can find ourselves in the body of a tree. And for years and years, not being able to do anything. We can find ourselves in the body of an insect. We can find ourselves in the body of an animal. We can find ourselves in the body of a snake. And like that, we transmigrate from one body to another, to all the 8,400,000 species. And until we get to the human form of birth. And the human form of birth is very, very rare. Very, very rare. There's so many insects and bacteria in this room, and there is only 3 human beings. Very, very rare to take birth as a human being. And what differentiates us from animal lives, the human, is that our abilities, potential abilities to ask questions, to inquire about the absolute truth. Who am I? Where am I going? However, if we don't use that potential of inquiry, then without using that potential for inquiry, all we do is living like animals, eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. Those are all activities of animals. And human beings' activities start when that inquiry happens. And really, this happened by the mercy of a pure devotee. Brahmanda Brahmite Kona Bhagavan Jiva Guru Krishna Prashadepai Bhakti Lata Beach. So as we wander again and again for so many lifetimes. We are Nitya Bada, he said also. So it's Nitya Siddha, eternally liberated. Nitya Bada is eternally conditioned. So it sounds pessimistic. And Srila Prabhupada says it's not really eternal, but we can, because it's the time frame is so, it's time immemorial since we fell into a way from our constitutional position that he can say eternal, because how many lifetimes are we spent in different species, in different form, and maybe as human beings, how many lifetimes wasted because we didn't inquire. And then, so by traveling like that from one life to another, one day we are lucky enough to be encountering a pure devotee. And that pure devotee, he planted the seed of bhakti in our hearts. And there are so many ways to meet a pure devotee. Like when Lord Chaitanya, he was traveling, people were coming to him, and as soon as they were getting in contact with him, they were liberated. And then they went to their villages, and then as soon as the people from the village touched them, then they were liberated. And like that, there was a wave of liberation happening. And that wave is still happening now. All of us here, we are in that wave of Lord Chaitanya's movement. We are touched by Lord Chaitanya. Every single person
here online, here in person, we are in that wave of being touched by a pure devotee and getting that seed of devotion, bhakti, inside our heart. So the difference, so now then Srila Prabhupada in his purport, he speaks about Nitya Siddha and Sadhana Siddha. So when a Nitya Siddha get covered, get separated from the Lord, get conditioned, and Srila Prabhupada said, anyway, then after meeting the pure devotee, Adaushada, Tata Sadhu, yeah. So first there is some cess, and then Tata Sadhu, like, and exchanging with devotees, like we are doing now. We are exchanging with each other. We are exchanging with Srila Prabhupada. We are exchanging with Vidura. We are exchanging with Uddhava, with Vyasadeva, Srila Sukadev Goswami, all of them in Srimad Bhagavatam, and Tata Sadhu Sangha. And so Sadhu Sangha, association with devotee. And then what's come next is Bhajana Kriya. And Bhajana Kriya is Sadhana Bhakti. Sadhana Bhakti means we receive, after we receive the seed, then there is a practice. For everything there is practice. I have the seed of desire to play piano. Yeah, that's seed of desire. But that seed of desire to play piano is not going to make me a virtuosi, like a completely adept at piano. No, I have that seed because maybe I met someone who's really such a pianist. There is, like, I don't have name of pianist in my head, like Catherine Lara, French, like that nobody knows is good. But she's a really good pianist. And so I went somewhere, I met Catherine Lara, she's a great pianist. I have the desire to play piano. Oh, guys, that's it. I'm a good pianist. No, it doesn't work like that. So similarly in spiritual life, it doesn't work like that. We have that seed of desire. I have the desire to free myself from this material body because I'm not this body. I understand that. I'm not this body. This life, I don't belong here. So many people realize I don't belong here. I don't belong to this body. Really, now I'm seeing more and more young people, they feel awkward in their bodies. They feel awkward and they feel maybe like, it's because I'm in a wrong body. Maybe I should change my body or have a different body. But no, and as soon as they hear, no, you don't belong to this body. That's why you feel awkward in this body. But changing your body is not going to change anything. You know, it's just like changing a set of clothes. How much does it change? Okay, I can have an illusion for a little while that I'm that cool person because, you know, I dress differently, now I'm cool. But, you know, it doesn't last because at the end, I'm still alone with myself. So you know, like a lot of young people, they have that awareness, like, I don't belong here. And that body feels awkward. And it's just not me because it's not who we are, because we are spirit soul having a human experience and we are not this body. And understanding that is like understanding I want to play piano. And then after that, we want to inquire what's the process. And then there is a process. That's called sadhana bhakti. There is a process. There is rule and regulation. There is things that we can do that's going to help us more and more having realization and experience of myself as a soul, not the body, and as myself not needing to be in this body. And there is things that I'm going to prevent myself from doing because they are not conducive. They are not conducive for me. They are, every time I do those things, I can feel myself going down. I can see my consciousness, whatever it is for some of us, you know, like those things we do that we know we do, that's drag down our consciousness, then, you know, for each of us is different, but we know what they are. Like yesterday we were speaking about that verse in the Bhagavad Gita that said, control
to control the lower selves by the higher selves. So our lower self want to drag us down all the time. And that self that separated us to start with our sense of eternally liberated. So sadhana bhakti, to have a sadhana means to have a practice. And Srila Prabhupada often you make it clear. Practice, get up early in the morning, have Mangalarti, tell the deities, chant and hear, doing what we are doing right now. Hearing transcendental knowledge is so important. Hearing is like a cornerstone of a sadhana, of a spiritual practice, is to hear transcendental knowledge and to also regulate ourselves, regulate our life in such a way that we get to use more and more of our time towards spiritual life and less of our time towards material animalistic life. Because if all we do all day is to put energy towards eating, mating, sleeping, and defending, Prabhupada says it's like polishing the cage. You know, like he gave an analogy of a bird in a cage. And so there was a bird in a cage and a very rich lady. She was so happy to have that little bird, so beautiful little bird. But what she was most happy is to show the bird. And so she had a cage. And the cage, you know, was with gold, and after she put emerald, and every day she was polishing the cage and dusting the cage. And the bird was inside the cage, and the bird was like, feed me. And then the lady, she couldn't hear because she wanted everything to look very, very good for everybody to see. We don't want to look bad, you know. So she was really taking a lot of good care of the cage. And then, you know, sometimes she was repainting the cage and people will come around and she will be so proud of the cage with the bird inside. And then the bird will say, feed me. And she will not be able to hear. So similarly, there is a part of us that's never satisfied, never satiated by anything material. Like a fish is not going to be satisfied by anything material. If you have a fish outside of the water, if you have a fish that's longing for that ocean, it can be an illusion that, yeah, if I have millions of dollars in a bank, if I have the right partner, if I have the right beauty, the right body, the right friends, then that's going to be that ocean. But it's not going to be the ocean. It's going to be like numbing myself or maybe putting some band-aids around. But it's not going to be that longing. So we all long for that. And that bird was longing. And many of us, we live our lives like that lady, who just focus on the cage because I need to belong here. I need to be accepted. I cannot do some things that's different than the rest of us. And that's the longing. And then one day, the lady, she was dusting and polishing, and she saw the bird was dead. So every time we don't give our time to spiritual life, that's what we do. And the more we give to spiritual life, the more the birds become alive, the more we get alive. And the Nitya Baddha said we are victimized. Nitya Siddhas are never victimized by the material energy. And sadhana siddhas, to perfect ourselves, and Prabhupada said many times, there is no difference. It doesn't matter how one's liberated. It doesn't matter, like if you get out of the ocean of material energy. It doesn't matter if you got out because someone pulled you out, or you swam to shore, or somehow there was a raft and you climbed on the raft. It doesn't matter. At the end, you are out of the ocean. And so in a sense, there is no difference. And at the same time, it's like one of those, like oneness and difference. There's no difference, and at the same time, we need to understand the difference. And so feed me, and our soul constantly says, feed me, give me transcendental knowledge, give me a process, give me something. I know a lot of people, when they come to Krishna consciousness, and it's my story too, as soon as I began to read Srila Prabhupada's books, I felt like, oh, I can breathe. That's what I was looking for all my life. And I tried. I had a bucket list, like people have a bucket list. I crossed every item on the bucket list. And I was so proud of myself because I took risk. I didn't accept the status quo of society. I didn't accept everything that people told me. I did leave everything and travel. I did play music. I did everything. I didn't care. I didn't care for the status quo of modern society. I didn't care for what my parents wanted me to do or anything. I went for what I wanted. And you know what? After checking everything off my bucket list, I even traveled with musicians. I even got a contract with a record label in France to travel all over Europe in a band. I did. But I didn't sign the contract because at that time I had a pulling in my heart to travel. So I went to travel instead. But it came to me because I desired that. I'm even checking everything on my bucket list, even doing everything I desired, not leaving anything aside, not having any fear. Like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. At the end, I was more dissatisfied than at the beginning. When I had the job, going to my job every day, working, having, like the people in the company where I was working, they knew I wanted to live. So they were giving me more and more, what's called, like when you have higher grade. A promotion, yeah, they were promoting me. Like, I was like just new to the company, and within a year and a half, I was the head of a department, a new department that they created, like that. And then when I was there doing my duty, being responsible citizen of society, in fact, that yearning inside wasn't that strong that when I finished my bucket list, and that's really interesting. And it just proves that no matter what you give to the fish, that longing is not going to be satiated. It's never going to be satiated. So encountering that knowledge given to us by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, then finally my soul felt, oh God, this is the food I was looking for. And it's available. And you know what? I had so many books and so many quotes and so many things that I wanted to speak about Nitya Siddha and Sadhana Siddha. And I didn't touch on any of it. And it's already 10 minutes after 9. And I had no idea that was the case. So I'm going to stop here because I'm really eager to hear from you. And I'm going to read the verses again, Sanskrit and English. Tata Katipayer myself Vishni Bojanda Kadaya Yayu Prabhasam Samrista Ater Deva Vimohita. A few months passed, and then, bewildered by Krishna, all the descendants of Vishnu, Boja, and Andaka, who were incarnation of demigods, went to Prabhasa, while those who were eternal devotees of the Lord did not live, but remained in Dwarka. After Trasnatva Pritin Devam Rishim Chaiva Tadambasa Tarpait Sadva Viprebyo Gavo Bahu Gunadadu. After arriving there, all of them took baths, and with the water of this place of pilgrimage, they offered their respect to the forefather demigods, great sages, and to satisfy them. He gave cows to the Brahmana in Raya charity. I practically didn't speak about anything I wanted to speak about. Hare Krishna. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. And I welcome question, comments, sharing, realization, criticism, anything.
I'll share.
Yes.
So of course I'm laughing because you said that you talk about Christian, you can't stop yourself. And so I experienced that in your class. You didn't know when to stop, but you somehow found a way to stop. So that was sweet. Yeah, I was just reflecting on yesterday. You know, we had a beautiful program for disappearance of Srila Prabhupada, and I took the day off from work, and Lakshmi and I were going to go to the beach in the afternoon. So after we broke our fast at noon, and we went on to the beach. And as we got closer and closer to the beach, it was like rain, like more rain. Like rain all the way there. I'm like, oh, Krishna's certainly gonna like give us a beautiful sky, and we're gonna be able to walk the beach when we get there. No, more rain. It was just lots of rain. And then it was like, but Krishna, you're so merciful because we haven't had rain in like weeks since the hurricane, since Hurricane Andrew. Like we really need rain. So you know, it just wasn't meant for us to be the beach. So Lakshmi Priya is like, you know, I'm really desiring to make more japa bags. And the fabrics that I find in most stores are not nice. They're not done as good quality that you want. And so she just put on her little, phone that she wanted to find a quilting store because they have nice fabric. And like in 2 minutes, we were at the fabric store, and we were there for like an hour. And we like went through all these different fabrics because she wanted to make men's japa bags, because she wanted to make them attractive to men, because we're in women bodies, and we want, pretty things, and we have to remember what the men's body wants. So they happened to be a man's body in the quilt shop. It was a worker. And so we're like engaging him in service to say, well, would you be attracted to this material? And he's like, what are you doing? I was like, I pulled out my bead bag, and I said, well, this is one that Lakshmi Priya made. And so he's like looking at it, like, wow, that's really nice. And he's like, like the inside is like different fabric. And so it was it wasn't my desire to go to the quilt shop and find fabric so that Lakshmi Priya could make more japa bags. So that's what we ended up spending our
That's what Krishna wanted you to
That's what
do.
Krishna wanted us to do. And then she was so engaged with the shopkeeper, and he was telling us these stories about how different people come and learn how to sew. And she's like, oh, I'm so attracted to learn how to do this more efficiently. So now she made a contact. He's going to go back and have a sewing class with him. And she wants to, she's going to bring the pattern for him to see, and so to see if there's a better way to do it. And so we were just totally like, so we forgot about the beach.
You were absorbing service to Krishna.
Yeah, we were just like forgot about the beach, and we're like just like pulling out it was like stacks and stacks and stacks on their cutting table. We were just like reading all these bolts of fabric, and they were just like amazed, like what are we doing? Because she didn't want like yards and yards, she just wanted a little bit enough to make 1 or 2 japa bags.
Yeah.
So it was actually a fun day of service after all, but it was just not what we intended.
Yeah.
So that filled us up, and I was like really getting depressed as we got closer and closer to the beach. And once we finally were in St. Augustine, I was like, well, what do you want to do? And she's like, I want fabric. And I was like, okay, we'll go get fabric. So anyway, just wanted to share.
So special. It's very sweet, and it's very much, like, it's very much connected with what we spoke about.
Yes.
It's like maybe, I don't want, I said, maybe the desire to go to the beach was not so connected with Krishna's pleasure.
Yes.
And then, maybe, I don't know. And then somehow Krishna, like, okay, I'm going to create rain. There was no rain here. I can tell you there was no rain here. It's still drought.
Yeah.
And so Krishna created the rain to redirect you towards, because the different, to go from going to regain that Nitya Siddha, that eternal Krishna consciousness, is high to Kiya Pratyata. No interruption for any personal desire. And so Krishna was helping you, like, no interruption here. You're going to think about japa beads and japa bead bag, and engage someone in service, and create for Lakshmi Priya to have more training in sewing, to sew for for the devotees, and maybe later on for the deities, because now you have a deity in your house, and even Gopal need sewing, Nadini Shakti can show you some outfits she makes for Gopal. Now there is a Ladu Gopal deity at Prabhupada house, so sewing is part of deity worship, definitely. Yes. Hare Krishna. Thank you for sharing. Very beautiful. Damayanti, you have your hand raised.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for the class. Something you said made me think about belonging, about like there's like a human need to belong. Like we are social creatures. We do need each other to thrive, at least in those younger years. And even, I guess, as adults, I think we need, in some way, do we need others? And like, how much do we satisfy the need for belonging? Is it a need for adult humans at all? In society, I guess. I mean, I do believe there's a spiritual need to belong belong in alignment with the truth and service to God and service to, the truth. I think there's a need for belonging and spiritually. But then, and I know there's need for belonging as children, and then do adults have any need to belong? And there's a part of me that feels like, oh, I'm such a weirdo. I definitely don't belong. In so many ways, I get that confirmation, like I don't belong, I'm a weirdo. And then I take like pride in that. And then there's another part of me that's like, I have such a strong need to belong and have people like me that I don't even reveal my true thoughts and feelings about things, so I feel torn, and I feel like I don't feel clear about the belonging. Do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, I have some thoughts, and I will be glad to hear yours. But yeah, so that need to belong is a need. Like we have a need to belong, we have a need to be praised, we have a need to be appreciated, we have a need, all those needs, and as long as we are trying to fulfill those needs on a material platform, we are going to be frustrated because we don't belong. That's the truth. So it's like every other material desire. The need to belong is not different than the need to enjoy any of my other senses. It's just, it's maybe a way to enjoy my mind by feeling I belong. And, it's like sometimes we have a need to fulfill my tongue. So I need pizza, and I think that the pizza is going to fulfill that need to satisfy the craving of my tongue. So all those are needs that we are in illusion. We needs that we need in order to fulfill our intrinsic, instinctive desire to be happy. And that needs, intrinsic desire to be happy, is not going to be ever fulfilled by any of our material endeavor. Society, friendship, and love is something we look for, and that usually run us down because, we do seminars, we do coaching, we do hours and hours working with people. Everybody wants to belong, and how comes that nobody feels that they belong? I'm just putting that out there, for like, okay, well, it's a need, so it's natural for human being to belong. Well, if it's natural for human being to belong, how come it's not happening? It's not happening because it's not natural for the human being to belong to the material energy. And the spirit soul having human experience, they belong to the spiritual energy. And as long as they are not associating with the spiritual energy through sadhu sangha, sashtra koi, so like through sadhu sangha, to associating with sadhus, and sadhus are the pure devotees, and sadhus are every one of us here. We are sadhus, and we churn about the spiritual energy, and that is going to give us a sense of belonging. And as long as our sense of belonging is on a material platform, it's never going to be satiated. It's not like any other of our needs, so-called needs, because they are not really needs. What we need is the great ocean that we are longing for. And that great ocean is Rama. Rama means reservoir of pleasure. So when we chant, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. When we chant that mantra, we feel that belonging. I belong there. I belong 100%. And then when we chant with others, congregational chanting, kirtan, Sankirtan. Sankirtan means congregational chanting of the holy name. When we glorified, if there is a place that where people glorify together the Lord, then that place is a place of pilgrimage. I didn't speak, I had a long thing I wanted to share about the place of pilgrimage. I didn't go there, but like when here is a place of pilgrimage, here we belong together. Here we have that sense of unity. And unity and belonging only exist on a spiritual platform. And as long as we are looking for it on a material platform, we can illusion ourselves, oh, that's a human need. That's a human need, yes, that's never satiated, never fulfilled, ever, as long as we try to fulfill it to the material energy. Did I respond to your question, Damayanti?
Yes. And then what follows for me, which you don't have to answer, but is like, well, how do I detach from my desire? How do I relate to humanity or my family or whoever I'm trying to belong to? I mean, even in spiritual community, you can still have a material consciousness where I want to belong to spiritual community and may not even be very spiritual inside the person, so because I have prior to Krishna consciousness, I had this philosophical point that I heard and I resonated with, that relationships are the most important thing, like just a general sort of concept, like relationships are the most valuable thing. And in some ways, like I still feel that way, like there's nothing, but not that I feel that way with Krishna consciousness. What I'm saying is like on the material platform, I think relationships are highly valuable, anyway, I had the conditioning, to be attached and to want relationships and maintain relationships and collect relationships and take care of them. And it's like it just takes up time, and it needs to be God conscious for me to feel uplifted, really, in the end. I don't even really want super personal growthy relationships if it's not Krishna conscious,
Yeah, so you responded to your question. Like you say, okay, I have the belief, and human beings are supposed to be in association, and of course there's a spiritual thing, but even on a material level, and I want that, and it's so much pain, so much taking time, and so frustrating, and that's a bitter medicine. Same thing with pizza. I need pizza, and I need to satisfy my tongue, and if I eat pizza a lot, I will feel the pain of it. I will feel I cannot sleep at night, or I will feel sick. I want to vomit or something. And little by little, I will feel like, I really don't want pizza anymore. So the material energy is taking care of it. And you're responding to your question, how do I get free from my attachment? Well, by being aware that really it's always a cause of pain. It's taking my time, it's taking my energy. At the end, it's not fulfilling anyway. There's illusion of fulfillment, but the reality of family life. I never understood from childhood. I never understood like family gathering or all that. I always experienced them as so much pain and suffering. It's just like it's something in this lifetime, somehow,
Especially
maybe from a previous life, I indulged in it or I wanted that. And in this lifetime, I got, I think it's, for some people, probably it's look like a curse, but I take it as a blessing that, yeah, I never believed in it. Like, no, it's just pain. Yes.
I'll stop speaking, but I find that really funny that you like you never ever attracted to family gatherings. I don't know why. It's so funny. Both my mom and my husband's mom, that's who they are, that it's like family gathering together is like the bliss of their identity. So I don't know, it's just so that's where I'm coming from.
Yeah,
Anyway.
you're coming from that, and maybe it gives them some comfort and maybe it's like some satisfaction in some ways, like a band-aid in some ways, like the cage looked good, was fulfilling for that lady, but at the end she doesn't have a bird. Malini wanted to speak, but it's directly in connection with what Damianti said. You want to speak, so Malini, you have your hand raised for a while.
Did I go in that Prabhu doesn't want to say anything anymore?
You wanted to go first.
Okay, well, I don't want to go to hell for that or something.
That's a risk.
Okay, so I will go first. No, I have a few things coming up to Damayanti's question, and that's like the natural need for belonging. I think that's there in the spirit soul itself. Also, like we are very little and we need to belong somewhere, and then we are covered, so we try to belong somewhere where we don't belong.
Yeah.
And then like, okay, like I'm attached to material relationships, so how can I utilize them for service to Krishna? Like, yes, I think it doesn't have to be like I have to like detach from them or artificially try to detach. Like you said, Malini, that it will happen automatically anyway by like just being a little honest about how it really goes. But then also like, okay, so let's like use these relationships to service somehow or other. And last, like if we, let's say, attached to like a spiritual community and it's still material consciousness, but it's still like we do some service together and we have all these like spiritual names, or, all those things. It's still like, okay, so maybe when we leave the body, it will bring us to another spiritual community. So it's not bad. I mean, so that's stuff that I have. And then I want to make one quick comment about the purport. I don't remember it exactly, but you were reading like how the devotees don't even want to go to the holy place. I was like, no, I'm just like planning all my like winter travelings. How can Prabhupada say? And then he said that the not advanced devotees or like there was a category and they should go. So I was like, oh, good. So that was happening for me during the purport.
Thank you. And we didn't speak about that part of the purpose, but I appreciate all your pertinent points. Like we do belong. We do belong somewhere. It's not like that yearning to belong is a natural yearning of the soul. And same things that yearning for relationship is a natural yearning of the soul because we are in a relationship. Otherwise, it's impersonalism. The whole process of bhakti yoga is about relationship. It's our relationship with Krishna and our relationship with Krishna's devotees. And so that's at the core. That's why all our yearning have a core original yearning there. It's just like we have a bright light, and then on the top of the bright light we put different color paper, and then the bright light, instead of being white, become red or blue or green. But the bright light beneath the colors that we see coming out of the light. So through the filter, so similarly, those yearning, we have the yearning to be in relationship with Krishna. We have the yearning to belong to the spiritual world because we belong somewhere. It's not like we don't belong anywhere. We do belong somewhere, in a place where there is no unhappiness, no frustration, in a place where Vaikuntha, where there is no anxiety, and where we really feel completely properly situated all the time in our service to Krishna and our service together. Yeah, so thank you for that. And yes, the place of pilgrimage, it's an interesting part. And yeah, thank you for sharing. Very pertinent sharing.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, thank you for your class, Malini, and very enlivened. I like your analogy about the piano, the desire to play a piano. It's now a virtuation. So it's like it's the sudden button. No, there's a process, and I don't follow the process. And then, yeah, so I'm like here in my temple room, there's a tapestry of Krishna. So Krishna is a social creature. Krishna is a social creature. Therefore, we're social creatures. Janma would exist in the effect, must exist in the source. So even here, well, there's no other people with Krishna, but no, he's associating. He has relationship with the flute, with the Yamuna River, with the trees in Vrindavan here. So Krishna is a social creature. That's what we get. And really, I don't have anything new to add to the conversation. Just like emphasizing the points that yourself, Damayanti, and Nadine have made. Like, yeah, it's the Yukta Vairagya principle. Like we have a propensity to eat, and there's a way, like to become a virtuoso, like get it 50 years, I don't know. There's a way to try to fulfill that propensity materially, and then it becomes actually it covers the diamond soul more. There's a way to fulfill that propensity spiritually. We all have a propensity to serve and make a difference and contribute, and we can direct that in a way that's material, alienated from the self. We can do that spiritual. So we have Krishna, social creature. We have that propensity, so we can endeavor to fulfill that propensity materially. And you said then it'll just be like that fish out of water every time, and then that painful alienation that's not meant to be just be like punishment, but to be like a message, like you're endeavoring to fulfill this in a way that's just not going to nourish the actual self. And so Prabhupada often speaks about, let's join Krishna's family, and then he gives us assignments how to do that. Mm-hmm. So taking that propensity, dovetailing it. This is when, earlier this month, we conducted in South Dakota events in South Florida. And on the last day we had, we get out like the pillars, pillars, and the pillars of a balanced life. And there's like different, there's different life areas, intellectual, and financial, and career, and the residence, like that. And then, so I was explaining how to fill out the pillars, and I mentioned the point that there might be some areas of life where there's not much happening, but you're completely satisfied. And I just looked at it spontaneously, and I looked at it said social. So I looked, and I said, so like in the social area, I have no social life, and I rate my social life at a 10. So they were like, well, if you have no social life, then it must be pretty bad. No, I'm doing great socially. I rate it. So but then some could say, well, you've always been like that. Anyhow, yeah. So just related to other sharing that because the idea of like for myself, like social life, it does not enhance my enthusiasm for spiritual life. For me, it's just the taste is almost completely gone. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, here we are, right? Like this is like we started these home programs maybe about 12 years ago. So so we've probably done well over 1,000 1,000 home programs, 1,500, 2,000 home programs. So here we are, there's about 15 or 20 of us between in-person and online. So this is social life. That's spiritually enlivening, that's what. All right.
Yeah, I was thinking like we are inviting Krishna's family and we are inviting in Srila Prabhupada's family. Thank you. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Anything else? Any question, comments? Thank you all for being here. Entourage, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaura Premanande Hari Hari Bol.
Hare
Hare Krishna.
Thank you.